The following WCIA3 sports presentation is brought to you commercial-free by Ryan Dallas Real Estate, Central Illinois Urgent Care, CIBM, and Edelman. Now, live from Tampa, this is your Illini Nation Bowl pregame show.
Hello and welcome to the Your Illini Nation pregame show, coming to you for the first time this season live on WCIA. Alongside our digital channels, as well as always, I'm Andy Olson. Bret Beherns and Jeremy Werner will join me shortly. We're so excited to get ready for the ReliQuest Bowl with you with this special hour-long pregame show presented commercial-free. Kickoff between Illinois and Mississippi State is just under 2 hours away now. Here's a look at the matchup that we'll see today. This is just the third time in history these two teams have shared a field. Each previous time took place here in Champaign. The Bulldogs grabbed a win over the Illini back in 1980, but the first matchup, you have to go back almost a century to 1923 when the then Mississippi A&M Aggies were whooped by Illinois 27-0. A lot of points back in the day. Illinois won, of course, with 4 rushing touchdowns in that one. Raymond James Stadium is the stage for the ReliQuest Bowl today. This is the first bowl game in Florida for the Illini since 1999 when they won the MicronPC.com Bowl 63-21 over Virginia. The new sombrero, of course, hosts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and South Florida Bulls, and also hosted Super Bowl 55 back in 2021. And it looks pretty good out there today, I would say, as we check in for the first time with Bret Beherns and Jeremy Werner, who are shipside in Tampa. Guys, it's been a lot of lead up to this game, but we are finally here.
I am ready for the game. Bret Beherns, Jeremy Werner here. Hey, this is the backdrop. You don't see things like this in Illinois very often, if at all, and we are here at Raymond James Stadium, ready for the game. There's been so much talk about this, Jeremy. I don't know about you, but I am ready to finally see the Illini take the field.
Yeah, I felt like I've been here a week. Well, that's been the case.
Yes.
We've been here for a week leading up to this game. We've been waiting for this game for more than a month since it's been announced, and finally it's here. We get to see what Illinois looks like without a few of its stars, and really get to see if Illinois can end what has been a great season for Illinois football, the best in 15 years, on a high note, and get a 9-win and really potentially be ranked going into the offseason, end the season ranked. I think that'd be a huge statement for Illinois football and certainly help on the recruiting trail as well.
So many storylines we will get to in this one coming up, but the biggest one may be this, Andy. It's 69 degrees here. It's 92% humidity. You can feel it down here. It is a beautiful Florida day. Could not ask for anything better. There are no clouds in the sky, and I have seen a ton of Illini fans out here today. Pretty impressive showing overall, I think, for a lot of orange and blue walking around.
Yeah, given the travel things that have happened over the past week, I was a part of that Southwest issue.
Oh, man.
But whether they got here, planes, trains, automobiles, once they got here, man, they got the full Florida experience. The weather has been near perfect. Only rained about 1 day since it's been here.
Yeah.
And they've been a great host. Tampa's been a great host, great city. So they certainly have enjoyed that. The players have enjoyed it with Busch Gardens, some of those other bowl trips they've been able to do. But it's now game time. They still a business trip, still want to end it with a win.
Shipside, I like how you said that, Andy. Here's our backdrop for the rest of the show. A lot more to come here from Tampa coming up in the next hour.
I can't say I feel too bad about the humidity there, but we'll check back in with you guys later. Well, the Illini down in the Sunshine State, like they said, for nearly a week, arriving on Boxing Day with a police escort. And that only kicked off the beginning of a week of work and play for Illinois. Super senior offensive linemen Alex Palczewski and Alex Pihlstrom had some fun with their arrival. The duo matched their custom Illini shirts. Getting the opportunity to finish off his career in a January bowl game is the perfect way to end it for Pihlstrom after 6 up-and-down years with the program.
Me and Palcho, we decided we were going to match, and we decided to wear these shirts. Just, having fun with it. That's what it's supposed to be about. Whole game's supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to be fun, but the whole week's going to be focused on the game. But hospitality is going to be great here. We got a lot of events planned, but excited to play one more game with our guys.
The fun part of the trip was kicked off with a trip out to Busch Gardens on Thursday. Dozens of Illini rode on the roller coasters and got to enjoy what should be a postseason reward. Isaiah Williams was one of 6 players who got a behind-the-scenes tour that included feeding some wildlife, including a giraffe. But the coasters were the biggest hit and what Williams says he will remember most.
I have never been on one like that. I ain't gonna lie, that was crazy.
What'd you think overall?
At first, a little nervous. Got up there, just closed my eyes, closed them for like 5 seconds, opened them. We were still going negative. After that, I'm like, I already know what's about to happen for the rest of the ride. But after that, it was just fun from there. But at first, I was most definitely scared.
You put your hands up?
No, most definitely not. I was like this. I was like the whole time.
And of course, you can't go to Florida without going to the beach as well. Both Illinois and Mississippi State made the trip to Clearwater for a day in the sun. Teams competed in a pie-eating contest and mostly tried to soak in as many rays as possible before the real prep begins.
It's good weather right here to be out here right now. You know, we used to being in the cold, so like I said, being out here in the water feel good. We having a good time out here, so that's, you can get a little bit of relaxation, putting in some work today, so it feel good to be out here and get to spend time with the guys. When we first got here, all of them were scared. They was crying about the water was cold, this, that, and the third. But I was telling them, like, you know, it's just like the cold tub in the facility. Y'all just going up. Your legs get numb a little bit, but you'll be straight. But just tell them to just come enjoy the sand. It's my home state, and seeing what I seen growing up, it was just a pretty good experience.
But it wasn't just all fun and games. Business needed to be attended to with 3 Illini assistants moving on in the months since the last game, with Aaron Henry being promoted to defensive coordinator. Former Wisconsin defensive back Antonio Finellis has been announced as the new DB coach. Henry and Finellis used to share a secondary on the field for the Badgers, and now will get to work together on the sideline. Possibly the biggest news of the offseason so far for the Illini, Ole Miss transfer quarterback Luke Altmyer announced his commitment to Illinois. The former 4-star recruit looks to be the guy under center in 2023. With Tommy DeVito not able to return, Altmyer only appeared in 9 games in Oxford, but was ranked as the 9th best available signal caller in the portal by 24/7 Sports. So some changes coming for the Illini this offseason. Bielema has said Finellis will be at the game today, but won't be coaching, of course. But let's talk Altmyer a little bit as we look to the future. Jeremy, if you're able to talk about the future of the Illini for a second, what does this transfer mean to the program? And maybe later on, what does this game mean for guys getting this chance to play in this bowl game that maybe we haven't seen before in the past with so many opt-outs? This is a good chance for some of those new guys to see the lineup.
Yeah, first of all, you said Luke Altmyer, number 9 transfer, a top 10 transfer in the portal, according to 24/7 Sports. He's talented. He had an offer from Alabama, a lot of SEC programs coming out of Starkville, so the Mississippi State connection. But he chose Illinois over Baylor and a bunch of other really good Power 5 options. Also visited Coastal Carolina, but they're keeping their guy, Grayson McCall, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's talented. He's got a good arm. He can really move in the pocket. He's got a lot of similarities to Tommy DeVito. The big difference, Brett, is he doesn't have a lot of experience. He was battling for the starting job with Jackson Dart, a transfer, former 4-star kid himself. And it was went into the season quarterback battle, and Dart ended up winning that battle. They were ranked really high for most of the season with him at quarterback. But Luke Altmyer, the great thing for Illinois is he's got 3 years of eligibility, so they potentially don't have to keep going to the portal for 1-year fixes. This can be a long-term fix while Barry Loney builds up the rest of that room. But I would expect some growing pains. But the good news is you can build upon those lessons. And you hope, Brett, you still have a good running game, you still have a good offensive line returning, experienced wide receivers, and a good defense. That he doesn't have to be a savior in year one. He can just be a solid option. So I don't know if my expectation for him in year one would be what Tommy DeVito did this year, but he's certainly got the talent to do that.
And Illinois wanted Tommy DeVito back. They applied for a waiver to try and get him back. He was their first choice going into next year. Catch us up to speed, Jeremy, from that point when they applied for the waiver to realizing they weren't going to get it, they were denied, and then getting Altmyer.
Yeah, Tommy didn't really think he was going to come back. I mean, he's 24 years old. As he wanted to spend his 7th year in college, be on the Tommy Boy plan here.
Yes.
But, the second bye week, Illinois said, hey, let's do this. Let's try and get it. At the worst, you have the option of returning. And let's be honest, Tommy DeVito could have made a lot of money in name, image, and likeness by coming back. I mean, 6 figures were potentially there for him to come back, get another year in the system, another year of comfortability where he can showcase himself for the NFL. He's not really probably an NFL draft prospect, but he hopes to get into a camp. So he was really intrigued by that. He was ready to return.
Yeah.
They got one of the waivers approved that they thought was the harder one to get, but the second one didn't come through. So Illinois had a contingency plan, and they went right to the transfers. They went after Hudson Card from Texas, who ended up committing to Purdue and Ryan Walters.
Funny
and then,
how that
of
works.
course, Luke Altmyer was their other guy they really wanted. They were happy to get either of them. Hudson Card was more prepared to step in, be a starter right away, but Luke Altmyer certainly is a starter caliber talent.
It was a precarious time in a sense because how do you recruit a transfer quarterback if you don't know if Tommy DeVito's coming back. How do you feel like they managed all of that?
It was a precarious position, right? But I think, once they realized Tommy didn't get the waiver, and it timed up nicely, but they were kind of doing parallel tracks at the same time. But they were able, they were going after Hudson Card for a few days there where Luke Altmaier, they probably could have landed, but they played it right. They were honest with everybody that was involved, so you got to give it to them. This could have been a dicey situation, but they played it right and got a really talented quarterback.
And I feel like it worked out really well for them. We'll see how it plays out in the future. Big thing for me is multiple years there. Tommy DeVito, you only get him 1 year. Worked out really well. As long as he has a solid day today, it's going to set the completion percentage all time at Illinois. I mean, that's significant for what he did.
And I think something we got to consider here, big picture, is how much their quarterback cell has improved in a year.
Yes.
With Barry Illini and Tommy DeVito combining together, working together, and having a great season, a much better season, going from 121st in pass efficiency to 57th. You can build on that. You sold that to Luke Altmaier, and now you're able to maybe get a longer-term fix here at quarterback, a position that's really hurt Illinois the last
I agree,
decade.
because they're going to be young next year. Outside of Altmaier, you just got a couple of freshmen there because Art Sikowski's playing his last game today, transitioning over to be a grad assistant or some type of assistant with the team, a student coach per se. I will say this, though, too, and I think it's the point that you made there. I don't think they get Luke Altmaier if Tommy DeVito doesn't have the season he had this year. I think that is the biggest storyline coming into this season. Obviously, Ryan Walters leaves. We'll talk about that coming up here on the Your Illini Nation pregame show. Okay, you couldn't keep Walters. The second, maybe 1B, to me at least, Jeremy, was who's going to play quarterback next year? I think that was super significant to have DeVito have success, for him and Barry Lunny to have this arranged marriage, as we've heard them say. I mean, that was huge.
I said coming into this year, Barry Lunny was the most important person in the athletic department, and he helped. I know fans will quibble over some play calls and all that, but the passing game was much improved. The offense was much improved, and complemented what was such a strong defense, the best in the country in a lot of statistical categories coming into the year. So the fact that you have that and you can build off that is huge. And now we see what the future looks like a little bit today without Chase Brown. How is this rushing attack with Reggie Love and potentially Josh McCray returning? How does this offensive line, which most of it could return outside of Alex Palczewski and Alex Pilstrom, how do they look? How does this wide receiver group look without Chase Brown? I think that's going to be a fun thing to watch today, including the secondary we'll get to, I'm sure, later.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the defense coming up. I know the weather here is going to be beautiful. Andy, how's it looking back there with you and Adam?
Not as good, but we appreciate you guys holding down the fort, holding down the ship. We'll check back in with you later. So, like Bret mentioned, the weather here may not look as good as that. We may have taken over the 9 o'clock, but there is still some semblance of normality, and that's meteorologist Adam Sherwinski joining us now. And Adam, please tell me, we've got something in the forecast that looks anything like what we just saw in Tampa.
Funny you say that here. We're talking about moisture, the humidity. We'll see some moisture here in central Illinois, and that'll help bring rain chances here. Let's talk about Tampa, though, real quick. Here's a look outside at Tampa, Florida there. In town, a little bit of fog out there. Starting to clear up, though. They had dense fog advisories earlier this morning, so you might see a patch here or there around the stadium. But here at home, we've been dealing with the dense fog advisory as well. You can see that we have the dense fog in central Illinois. Some counties getting out of that. That is until 9 a.m. and starting to extend even onward from there. Current visibility is there. 0 in Mattoon, 0 in Effingham, 0 in Bloomington. So at least Tampa and us are dealing with the fog. We just have it lingering a bit longer here in central Illinois. As temperatures only in the 40s and 50s here in central Illinois. We're slowly warming up here, but we'll see warmer temperatures tonight and into tomorrow as well. Temperatures in the 60s, not the 70s and 80s like they're going to see in Tampa for today, just before kickoff. But hey, we'll take what we can get here. Usually we're in the 30s and 20s here in central Illinois for January. So seeing rain return back into the forecast here. Showers and thunderstorms return. Yeah, thunderstorms in January. That does sound like Florida weather here. But we're seeing that for tonight going into tomorrow as well. A little bit of a break. Then we'll see a little bit of a dry slot start to form here. That could bring a potential for some stronger storms, showers, and thunderstorms just to the east of Champaign. We'll keep an eye on that. Very conditional. Here's one version of Future Track after the other. And this one's showing another chance for showers and storms starting to peak up as we have that little dry slot kick through, and if they start to spark up, they can continue to do so just to the east of viewing area. So we might see 1 or 2 rumbles of thunder that continue to produce even outside of our viewing area closer towards Indianapolis. So we'll keep an eye on this. Very conditional chance for seeing a few strong storms out there. Decent rainmaker, though, as we go into Thursday. Close to an inch there in Champaign. Even beyond that, we get more chances for precipitation beyond that. Now, the bulk of the severe weather is going to be down to the south, just outside of our viewing area, there for the marginal risk. Then the slight risk there in southern Illinois, places like Carbondale, seeing that potential. And as we go towards Tuesday, the better chance for severe weather out towards Kentucky and extreme southern portions of Indiana. So the ingredients, we have the shear, we have the lift after the cold front, moisture, plenty of it here as evident by the fog that we've seen for this morning, but the instability is the real question here. Are we going to see enough of it with that dry clearing slot? Or are we going to see anything really spark up that instability, tap into that instability and make showers and thunderstorms? Biggest threat would be maybe some large hail. Can't rule out a chance for a tornado, though it's very, very low chance of that happening. High winds and flooding, minor flooding in some locations here or there, so you might see some big ponding spots here out there. Otherwise, that low pressure system is quite a storm bringer, not so much for us, but also bringing the chances for snow from Wisconsin all the way into parts of Iowa. We'll see a little bit of that backside precip as well as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. Drying out a little bit for Friday, but another chance for rain and even potentially for some snow and wintry mix as well. 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit, Andy.
Yeah, Adam, I love what you said. Rain making it seem like we're in Florida. It seems like they're doing okay down there right now. Just a little bit of fog, and it should be good weather to get a football game in. Maybe not like all running game like we've had a few times here with the wind just at Memorial Stadium this season.
You know, I was doing the forecast for Tampa earlier today, and I thought, man, 74, 80, this sounds like an Illini game in September.
That's right.
Not, January.
All right, Adam, thanks so much. We'll check back in with you later. Well, from year one with Bret Bielema's staff to year two, no one may have taken a bigger leap than Johnny Newton. With All-America and all Big Ten honors for the sophomore, the defensive lineman seems primed to play on Sundays in the future. Before any of that, the St. Petersburg native has the chance to play in front of his hometown crowd today for the first time since high school. But this game will be more than just a homecoming for the Newton family.
I just thought of 60 tickets, bringing my whole family to the game.
Returning to the Tampa Bay area would have been special enough for Johnny Newton and his family, but the Illinois defender has an extra bundle of joy in tow, as Jovian Newton was born November 17th, 2 days before Newton suited up against Michigan.
It was a perfect timing for me. It was really tiring, but I mean, it's worth every second of it. Waking up in the middle of the night, changing diapers. I feel like her mom's the best mother she could ask for, and I'm just there right on her coattail, helping her out. It's a really amazing experience, and I love everything about it.
Call it dad strength or the baby bump, Newton had one of his best games of the season in the Big House with 7 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a fumble recovery. Between pressuring the quarterback and changing diapers, Newton has kept his play at an All-American level.
I give hats off to Johnny, for him to be like an absolute baller and to, be dealing with this baby girl and, bring the same energy every day. Just you got to be one of a kind to do something like that.
We didn't know when his daughter was going to come, so we had actually had conversations going all the way back to this past fall about how we'll handle the moment, move forward. Johnny's a very mature, very established football player, and he demonstrates the same thing off the field as well. Really excited for him.
It's sure to be an emotional week in the Sunshine State because of a loaded schedule between practice and school. The bowl game will be the first time Newton's parents will meet their granddaughter.
I mean, going back home, my baby finally gets to meet all my family members. My parents haven't met her yet, my brother, so I mean, it's a tough ride going back home. She can't fly yet, but it'll be worth it so all my family members can meet her.
Newton has some leads to protect in the final game of the season. He's first in the nation in QB hits per PFF and leads the stout Illini defense this season in tackles for loss and sacks. For more stories like that, you can check out the Your Illini Nation Bowl Special, available on demand on our website, YourIlliniNation.com. You can check that out right now. Newton isn't the only one from Florida on the team. 18 Illini hail from the Sunshine State, including nearly the entire starting defense. 7 starters on that side of the ball are from Florida. So when the Illini found out they were heading south to the ReliaQuest Bowl, it certainly meant a whole lot more to guys like Quan Martin. This is the senior defensive back's final game in college, but it will also be his first time playing a game back in his home state since high school.
Just coming back to where it all started at, man. Just having this opportunity just to come back here because, we got a lot of family from here who isn't always able to come up to Illinois and travel everywhere to see us play. So just to have this opportunity and play in front of our family is very important.
Now time to turn our attention back to the Bay. Brett and Jeremy joining us again from the side of the ReliaQuest Bowl this morning. Guys, you've been with the players all week. I'm sure you're hearing many of the same sentiments that Quan shared about being able to play in Florida once again.
No doubt about it. For the guys, I think a little bit more pride in the fact that, like, hey, you're coming down to our place. You know what I mean? For the guys that aren't here, they've just enjoyed the week. I know we had a lot of video earlier on in the show, Jeremy. It was cool to see them get this reward. I mean, the team talked, Coach Bielema's talked all about, like, bowl games are a reward. And they are, and it's easy to say that. When we've been able to see the players, like, enjoy themselves, they're working, they're practicing too. For me, that's been cool because we understand how hard these guys work. I mean, it is constant all year round. To get this has been pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of talk about what happens with bowl games in the era of an expanded college football playoff. One, I think they're staying because these bowl games make a lot of money for ESPN, the networks, and the schools, all of that. But I do think it's a great experience for these players. Get to go see different places, get to experience this, get treated like this. I think it's a phenomenal setup, and Tampa has done it really well. I know a lot of these guys haven't been to a bowl game, and after this experience, they might want to make sure they keep coming back to these every year.
Yeah, and I think that was cool for me too. There's so many players that haven't been to a bowl game on this team. To see their wide eyes in a sense of like, oh, this is what a bowl game is like. It's pretty cool to see that and for them to get rewarded with that. And like you said, your mentions are just like mine, I'm sure. So many people, why are they even playing the game? Chase Brown, Sidney Brown opting out, Devin Witherspoon opting out. Those guys, whatever. Okay, those are the minority guys. There's a whole 90 other players that want to play the game and want to be here, and good for them to be able to have this experience.
Yeah, and I'm not going to probably change anybody's minds on the opt-outs, but listen, if you're chasing Sidney Brown, and Sidney mentioned, it's a selfish decision, but it's a selfish decision not just for himself, but think about his mother, who was homeless at a time, to make sure those guys could play football in the States. His grandmother, who provided so much for them and really sacrificed a lot for herself. If they get hurt today, that could all disappear for them. Devin Witherspoon, same thing. Could those guys... I don't blame Bryce Young, Will Anderson, top 5 picks who want to play. That's awesome for them. It's awesome for their team. I also can't complain about these other guys. And I asked Casey Washington, he said, listen, these guys have been playing football all their lives for the chance to play in the NFL, and they don't need this to play in the NFL, and we support them. So Bret Bielema has supported those guys, so fans can feel the way they want. It stinks they're not going to be available for the game. Mississippi State's missing a couple guys who decided to enter the transfer portal as well. That's just part of what the bowl season is right now, and it does allow for guys in the secondary, especially with, Quan Martin decided to come play this game because it's at home. Johnny Newton might not play this game if it weren't in Florida, in his home Tampa, but it allows some of these other guys, Tyler Strain, who's a Florida native, Xavier Scott, a Florida native, a chance to step up. Matthew Bailey from Moline. It's a real chance for those guys to show what they're capable of because they're going to be counted on a lot next year.
For a guy like Johnny Newton, he was desperately trying to find tickets. He was hoping to have 100+ here, like begging guys on the team, hey, can I get your ticket allotment? Because he's just from right down the road here in St. Pete. Andy had a great story there about his baby daughter getting the first chance to be here. But then you talk about a guy like Keith Randolph, who told me he's never been to Florida. Think about his experience here, just getting a first time in the state of Florida. Like, he told me that, and I was like, wait, you've never been to Florida? What a moment for him. And as we talk about guys that are opting out as they're practicing the national anthem here behind us, getting ready for the gates to open here coming up in just a few minutes, we'll see. We don't know about Johnny Newton going forward. We don't know about Keith Randolph going forward. There are some uncertainties about guys making NFL decisions coming up. This could be the last time those guys play in orange and blue.
Or it might not be. Bret Bielema teased a little bit that, hey, we're going to announce some decisions about guys coming back in the coming days, and I think the focus is about the line of scrimmage, right? Keith Randolph, Johnny Newton, the law firm, they made a little bit of NIL money. Illinois is creating a new collective to try and retain players like that. Personally, I don't know what Johnny Newton can do to improve his NFL draft stock. He's a little undersized lengthwise for what the NFL wants, but boy, is he disruptive. Boy, he was one of the best Big Ten defensive linemen, one of the best defensive linemen in the country. I think Keith Randolph could really help his NFL draft stock. I think Julian Pearl can really help his draft stock. Even though the NFL loves his length, his athleticism, I think he needs to get a little bit more consistent. But if they get those 3 guys back, Brett, along with Seth Coleman, along with Gabe Akers, along with Isaiah Adams and Zy Chrysler, the Illinois up front, offensive line, defensive line, could be a huge strength yet again. It's a big reason this program is taking a step forward. So we'll find out in the coming days, but certainly you don't know until those guys announce it. But it seems like with Illinois, the self-development under Bret Bielema, and the improved NIL opportunities for those guys, they might have a chance to bring back some real big talent.
And we can't stress enough just how important that NIL collective is to bringing these guys back. In the past, maybe even 2 years ago, they probably go because they're chasing that NFL money. Now they have an opportunity to make really, really good money. I mean, if you're making six figures playing college football, hey, that'd be a tough decision for me to decide whether to go or stay.
Bret Bielema said if you're first, second, third round pick, like Kirby Joseph had an $800,000 signing bonus. If he would have came back and been a first-round pick, Bret Bielema talked about you could make an $8 million signing bonus. So no one's going to blame Devin Witherspoon. But guys like Johnny and Keith have some long-term decisions to make because you can get to the NFL and make some money right away, but how do you maximize your earnings for the long run? Those are conversations Bret Bielema's had with them, will continue to have with them, and certainly it's going to make a huge impact on 2023 because if they do lose some of those guys, they're going to have to go back into the portal and find some guys that can make an immediate impact, especially on the defensive line.
The other thing Bret Bielema has really touted in my eyes is they haven't had a lot of players enter the transfer portal. I think he takes a lot of pride in that his guys are not just continually getting in the portal. Now he's wanting to bring in some more guys, put his own stamp on the program, get the kind of type players that they want. But I think there is something to say, too, that there's not been this huge exodus. I've seen some teams with 25, 30 players leaving the program. I think that does bode well for the Illini, too.
Yeah, we'll see the next couple of days are going to be very important in the transfer portal after bowl season. We'll see who enters. And you can always have surprises, but I do think these guys like this coaching staff. And, it'll be interesting with losing Ryan Walters, Corey Patterson, Kevin Kane. But those guys haven't entered yet, right? So I think that's a really good sign that these guys like playing for Bret Bielema. They trust him, and they feel like their best decision in the long term, both in making NIL and developing into an NFL player, is here at Illinois. So we'll see what the rest of the offseason pretends. There's another transfer portal window after the spring. But yeah, Illinois is going to lose some guys. Some of those guys early have been depth, like third, fourth stringers. So far, they haven't lost any big names yet.
Yeah, and don't freak out, right? I think that's my biggest thing. People always ask, well, this guy's in the portal. What does that mean? There's going to be guys in the portal. It's just a matter of which guys. I think that's the key part there. Are you losing big-time starting players? The depth players, hey, you're going to go, and that's going to be what it is. That's no different than any other college football team across the country. It just matters which guys. There will be more. We'll see which players after this game decide to go into the portal. Andy?
Yeah, Bret, your voice sounds better, but I don't know if it was ready for anything like the national anthem. Yeah, I think we'll leave that to the professionals, guys. We appreciate it.
Oh, man.
After 2 seasons in charge of the program. Sorry, Bret. Bret Bielema has performed one of the more miraculous turnarounds in Power 5 football, from 2-6 the season before he took over to 8-4 with All-Americans up and down the team. I sat down with the man in charge to talk about upcoming change, maintaining success, and how his small Illinois hometown helped get him to where he's at. Bret, old neighbor still holds you in high regard. How would you say that Prophetstown has shaped you and got you to this point?
We moved there when I was young. I was like 4 years old when we moved there, and basically spent every day of my life there until I went to college. And was shaped a lot, obviously, by the family I was around, my mom, my dad, my 2 brothers and 2 sisters, but also the community. My first job as a lifeguard, my first job as a stock boy in a grocery store. Friends that I had then are still the friends I have now.
In your coaching career, a bowl game has become standard. That is the standard end of the year. It's your first one here at Illinois in your second season. How different and how important is it to have this extra time with the team and to get that reward at the end of the year?
2 different things, right? We got out of the year a year ago, 1 game shy of making bowl eligibility, and this year we were bowl eligible in 7 games, right? So kind of a dramatic change in a short amount of time, but I would think the culmination of becoming bowl eligible really wasn't a big deal in the building. I think the expectation was there, and then the build up to see where we went was a nice little crescendo to play Mississippi State. I think our guys were very excited to play an SEC opponent. I don't think anybody's going to argue with 7 days in the sun in Tampa and a lot of fun events in between.
Ryan Walters moving on to be a head coach. I'm sure you're proud of his progress and what he's done after 2 years here with you, but he leaves for a divisional opponent. For you, do you not like that? He knows the secrets inside the building, or does that excite you, having someone you know so well you get to play every year?
Well, you're excited for him and his family. We talk a lot about family in this building, and it's not just a catchphrase or a hashtag. Ryan's been part of this family for 2 years. In a way, he'll continue to be a part of the family just because we're all strong friendships. As far as being an opponent in our Big Ten, it does add that challenge. But, I went to Iowa. I played, coached at Wisconsin forever. Definitely a team that we're going to see every year, and that's kind of an exciting phase right now. Obviously, when we had these two other teams, no one knows how to play out.
So his replacement, Aaron Henry, someone you know very well, from him being one of your players to him being on your staffs now at two different universities. What about what you've seen from him as a coach made you think he was ready to be a defensive coordinator?
I was around him early in his career as a player. Then I saw him as a GA. And then really we weren't together. We were connected on the level that we are. We're, a coach and a player that never loses that bond. But then when he came on staff here and I began to see him present to his team, I gave him different topics to talk to the group. I saw him interact in recruiting. But then I saw his presence in front of his players. And the growth of some of his players, obviously Devin Witherspoon has been the most decorated DB in the history of Illinois football. Consensus All-American, the first one that's ever been here as a DB. A guy that is up for the Thorpe Award, which is recognized as the best. That was from direct coaching by Aaron Henry. He played corner under Coach Henry, and the growth that he had in his last 2 years set tone for me about what he's done as a coach. And now he's got a chance to do that to the entire room.
This offseason, already as many changes as there were last offseason. How do you as head coach maybe manage that when bringing in new coaches and trying to keep the same consistency going?
Really, each year starts a new calendar year, and in a way, because we do have a lot of new players in the building, do we have new coaches in the building, I kind of reset every year. You can adapt it a little bit, but once we get run through this game, we'll take a couple weeks to go home, be with our families as players. As coaches, we'll go back out on the road. But when we start up here the first Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day, we will reset the pause button and start all over once again. We'll reteach football 101. We'll reteach how we do things in the building. We'll talk about how we, live life in the community that we live in, and really just kind of do it on repeat every year and try to make it a little better each year.
How do you look at moving forward? You've been to the bowl game, a New Year's bowl game. What constitutes success moving forward for the team as you go into year three?
Yeah, a great question. I think Josh summed that up in our first phone call together. He wanted to have sustained success, right? We want to be able to do something on a level here that hadn't been done over a period of time. We're definitely making steps in the right direction. I'm not saying we're at our peak, but I definitely know we've moved the needle in the right direction.
Mr. Bret for his time. For more of our one-on-one, you can watch the full thing on our website, YourIlliniNation.com. Well, now let's go back to Adam Sherwinski and the weather. Adam, on my drive in, you already mentioned the fog. It was kind of hard to see in front of me, but it was so warm the past few days. Is that keeping up? What do we have in store?
Oh, yeah. Illini fans should be happy that they have warm conditions. In fact, if you can dodge a few raindrops and some drizzle, not a bad idea, really. I mean, we're in the Midwest, 50s, 60s here in the next couple of days. Perfect for grilling outside. Let's take it to Tampa real quick, where they've cleared up quite a bit, and it was pretty evident by what Bret had there shipside. You can see that we had plenty of clear skies there in town. For the Illini, though, kickoff for today, 74 degrees, warm, a little bit of fog out there. 80 degrees, warm and sunny. I think the fog is loosening up quite a bit here, though, over time. Back here in central Illinois, though, we have got some low-level cloud cover here and some fog as well, fog of our own. Dense fog advisory continuing on here for some portions of the viewing area. Some dense spots here, but getting better in Champaign, Danville, and Decatur. Improving at least, but still a big old goose egg there for visibility there for Bloomington and for Effingham and Paris as well. Temperatures increasing slowly here because of the fog here across the area. 49 in Champaign, 49 as you go into Paris, and 48 there in Taylorville for this morning. We're seeing a little bit more rain come back in later on this afternoon to the early evening hours in. By the time we get to later on tonight, we'll have Jacobin, and we'll see more showers and thunderstorms push through the region, and then we'll see a little bit of a break before we see another chance of showers and storms. See this area of clearness right here showing up on Future Track? That's a little bit of a dry slot, we like to call it. Going to give us clear skies briefly here, so we will see sunshine for tomorrow. However, that could be a detriment as well. It could spawn off a few more showers and thunderstorms there from Mattoon, Paris, up towards Petersburg, that little area to the east of Champaign. Here's another version of Future Track showing those storms start to spark up there by 3 o'clock ahead of that dry slot and really start to help fuel those storms. So if we can kind of take the cap off that lid, we could get some pretty good storms here, especially with some decent instability as well. So we'll have to wait and see. It's very conditional here. Not saying we're going to see some storms or even some strong storms. I'm just saying that it's very conditional. There's a potential there for it. We'll have to wait and see as we get closer and closer to tomorrow. Some decent rainfall and precipitation over the next couple of days. The bulk of the severe weather, I keep talking about these storms and how it might be one or two might be strong, but that's nothing compared to what we're really focusing down to the south. That's where the severe threat really is. Southern Indiana, southern Illinois, all the way down to Arkansas and Missouri. That shifts to the east as you go into parts of Tuesday. Again, not covering our viewing area. That's the good news, but one or two spots could see one or two storms that go a little bit on the strong side here. Shear, lift. We've got plenty of wind shear, plenty of lift. That's a cold front pushing through. Instability is the iffy part here. We're a little unclear on that. Moisture, plenty of it here, as evident by the fact that we do have the fog for this morning. The wet conditions out there, more rain chances moving in tonight. Could see some minor flooding here or there, but really the bigger issues if two of those storms start to become severe. Again, one or two of those storms could go on the strong side. We'll have to wait and see. It would be a low end, large hail and high wind threat, maybe an isolated tornado, but that's even on the low end as well here. Can't completely rule it out. Showers and storms move on out of here after Tuesday. We have the cold front push on through for Tuesday night going into Wednesday. And then we'll see behind it backside chances for precipitation in the form of rain, maybe even some snowfall as well. So a little bit of a mixed bag here. I wish it was down in Florida. They have better conditions out there, Andy.
Snowfall, I can't believe it. Now you're saying, you know, we're looking at the shots of Florida. We're talking about snowfall here in central Illinois.
It's January. It's January here. I wish it was January in Florida, though, here.
It makes sense. Adam, thanks so much. We'll check back in with you later. Well, speaking of weather and how nice it is down in Florida, we check back in with Bret Beherns from Raymond James Stadium. Bret, you have a guest now.
Special guest joining us, TJ Reeves. He is the Bucs sideline radio reporter. He's calling the game today play-by-play for local radio down here. This is awesome, TJ. I know this is normal for you, like, hey, another day at the office. For us, like, we don't get this.
I know.
What does this game and this mean to the community down here?
First of all, it's great to have you. I hope we're making them jealous back home in Champaign because it's 83 degrees right now. My man Behrens is going, I'm sweating. I'm out here in the humidity.
We love it.
Welcome to Florida in January.
Yes.
Happy New Year, everybody. This game has been part of the fabric of the Tampa Bay area really for about 35 years. It's been a New Year's Day game since the early 1990s. It's the former Outback Bowl. This is the first year of the new sponsor, ReliaQuest, and it has been a staple for the Big Ten and the SEC to be here. So it is really a neat opportunity, obviously, to finish up the college football season. Why would you not want to be in Tampa, Florida on a day like today, finishing the college football season?
There is no reason. I am enjoying it. I love the hot weather. And, hey, if we're making some people jealous back home, I think we're doing our job.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Not trying to be mean, but I am okay making Andy Olson a little bit jealous that it is warm here.
Andy, we miss you, baby. Happy New Year.
What is your outside perspective? You're calling the game today. You've done plenty of research on both of these teams about this game and about the Illini in particular coming in under Bret Bielema.
So many variables, and obviously your defensive coordinator takes the Purdue job. You've got players that have opted out, including Chase Brown, the fantastic running back, and the backup running backs obviously hang in. Then you've got a Mississippi State team, and Bret, this is really unprecedented, where their head coach unfortunately passed away. Now you've got a new coach, first game since then. There are a lot of variables. You don't know what to expect. I think it may take some time in the first quarter for both of these teams to kind of settle in this one.
Yep.
And this will be an important thing because we look down here on the field pregame, Mississippi State in the dark maroon jerseys. That will be a factor, brother.
Okay.
As this game goes on with the heat and the humidity, that will be a factor. If Illinois is pounding the run game on Mississippi State's defense, it will matter with tired Bulldogs in the second half.
That's the kind of stuff that you only get through 3 decades of living in this Florida heat, covering games here. You've seen that matter, I would assume, in NFL games
over and over
where
again.
Teams get tired in the second half. And speaking of NFL games, yesterday was quite the sight here, wasn't it?
So just 24 hours ago, the Buccaneers have won and made the playoffs with some guy named Tom Brady.
Oh,
I've never heard of him in Champaign, throwing some long touchdown passes. What a Sunday. And I know you've been showing to the people back in Champaign-Urbana how they transformed this whole facility last night and this morning into the ReliaQuest Bowl, changed the field. It's just been a monumental effort to get this underway. But again, for Jim McVay, Mike Schulze, everybody, the board that puts this bowl game on. It is top notch, and I know you guys can testify whether you're talking about the gatherings for food, the Battle of the Bands on the beach.
Yep.
We've had a great week here, and now I'm looking forward to a great game.
It's been a lot of fun. TJ, thank you. Have a great call today.
Tremendous.
Andy, are we making you jealous yet?
Yeah, certainly you are, Brett. We appreciate you trying to make us jealous back here.
All right.
But I know there are a lot of orange and blue fans out there enjoying the game as well, Brett. We will check back in with you later. Well, signing day was only a few weeks ago, and recruiting quickly became a hot topic when Bret Bielema was introduced almost 2 years ago. Most importantly, keeping in-state prospects in-state. Recapping a bit of signing day for the Illini, they succeeded at keeping those players in-state in the class of 2023. Here's a breakdown by position. Illini going heavy along the line. Non-recruits on offense and defense. 7 of that group are from Illinois. The class is headlined by running back Caden Fagan from Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammonds. Illinois was first to offer the 4-star recruit, beating out Iowa, Notre Dame, and more. But he won't be the only Central Illinois kid putting on the orange and blue in the class. Declan Dooley from El Paso Gridley, the punter, is making the short trip south to Champaign. He is the 12th ranked punter in the country, according to Cole's Kicking, and 2nd in the state. Here's how the Illini class stacks up. 24/7 Sports has them ranked 47th in the country and 9th in the Big Ten. They are, however, still waiting on a decision by 4-star in-state wide receiver Malik Elzy. He's already signed during the early period, but won't